Hey you guys, it's Amy Gretchen. Welcome back to another Project Life Process video. In this video, I'm working on week 12 from 2017. It seems super crazy to me that we are already at week 12. That means 1/4 of the year is done, which I don't know, that just feels like it's gone really fast already. But I'm really excited that, life is warming up for us, being on the northern hemisphere, and that spring is on its way. Last week we actually had spring break, so I wasn't able to work on my Project Life. So I feel like I'm jumping back into this and having to kind of remember a little bit about, my process. I don't know why I felt like that a little bit. There was a lot of decisions I was trying to make and figuring out the direction that I wanted to go with this layout. But of course that always sort of happens. I never, very, very rarely do I start a process video knowing how I want it to go, or, even how I want it to look. I just kind of let inspiration come. I really like being able to work that way. So it was fun getting back into it, and I'm excited to work on week 13 tomorrow. Is kind of my plan. All right, so let's get to the layout. Enough of me gabbing. So I was looking through some cards from Studio Calico, and then the card that I'm working on right now is the card from Ali Edwards' Eat Kit. That was from, I guess it's actually the current kit right now, but it might be by the time this goes live, last month's kit. You might be able to find some of these products available digitally. So if they are available, I will link them in the description below. I actually used that card last week, I believe. And I wanted to use it again because I had this food picture. Anyway, so I just thought that would be a good card to use. And I do not concern myself with using similar cards or multiple cards at all. So I just went ahead and used that for this week as well, and told a little story about celebrating my daughter's birthday. That was a meal it was actually a breakfast meal. It was delicious. So then I'm moving on to my 3x3 cards, which again is something that I repeat every week throughout the year thus far. And I think probably as long as I've been working on Project Life, or at least the last couple years, where I'll take these photos and kind of make them look a little bit Instagram, where they're squared, and then adding the date, and then putting a little bit of journaling onto the bottom there. One thing that I also wanted to mention with the cards, so there was a couple cards that I pulled out. When I saw them, I thought that they might be good for next week's video, for from spring break. One of them had something to do about girls wanting to have fun in the sun or something, and I thought that might be a good one for spring break. And then the one with the lines, or I guess it's the rectangles and the triangles at the end. I pulled that out for the other side. I wanted to use the other side for the next week as well, but seeing that there, I thought that would be a really great card to use. So it just happens that I'm able to use it for both weeks, which I absolutely love when that happens. All right, so one of the stories that I wanted to tell this week was, what happened is my daughter tried out for cheerleading at her high school, and she made the sophomore team. And then the week later, she found out that was a mistake, and she was supposed to be on the JV team. So I actually had a picture of her with this t-shirt that I was going to use, but I wanted to use that text because I thought it was really cool that it was preserved on the text, or that conversation was preserved on the text. So I just had her take a screenshot and send it to me so I could print it out. Then I grabbed this stamp set that came from, I believe it came from a Studio Calico kit. I could totally be wrong about that. I'll see if I can find it. I thought that it said that it was from Studio Calico, but I could be wrong. It looked kind of like a bigger set, and they don't usually do that for the Project Life kit. So I will definitely double check on that for you. And that says awesome. And you'll see that I actually changed that a little bit and use the set again. So you'll see what I do a little bit later on. So one of the things that I was thinking about doing this time around was adding some letter stickers. So these letter stickers also came from Studio Calico, and they are from a past kit. And I'm going to venture to say it was probably a kit from last year, or actually no, these ones are Allie Edwards. So these may or may not be available on her website. And like the other thing, I will link it below if it is available. Sometimes I get confused because Allie and Studio Calico have the same manufacturers, and they're, they work together. So sometimes I get confused with their packaging. But yeah, this was from Allie Edwards. So after I added the word yum, which I loved, I was then thinking, shoot, what am I going to do for I wanted to add it another time, maybe 2 other times on photos. But I couldn't quite figure out what I wanted to do. Like that rain picture, I was thinking of putting rain, just writing rain down. Then I thought, I don't know, that just seems pretty basic. But of course, so does yum. But for whatever reason, I decided not to do that. But then often what I do when situations like that come up for me, when I'm thinking about doing something and I'm not quite sure what I want to do, I move on to something else. So I'm moving on to this other journaling card. And this is actually a journaling card that is the back of the one from week 11. And like I had said, I really love it when that happens. I feel like you get a lot more use out of your supplies. So I thought that it worked really well with everything else that I had going on. And so I just decided to go ahead and use that as well. One thing that you'll notice this time around is I didn't do any printing. I just did strictly handwritten this time. So moving on to my title page, or excuse me, my title card, I was trying to figure out how I wanted to add the date. I've actually been trying to use this, or wanting to use this title card for a long time, or this 4x6 card, because it's got this beautiful gold foil on it and it just hasn't come up. But I was glad that I felt like it really worked out this time, especially because this is the week my daughter turned 17. And so it just seemed pretty festive. So I just went ahead and did something that I do very similar by using my date stamp and then just cutting that out and outlining it. I thought that outline would also work really well with that awesome stamp that I used. So I did decide to use these stickers one more time, these alpha stickers, and I'm writing out the word this. So it's so hard. I feel like every time I do a layout, I want to write yes or love, or you've seen me do it multiple times. And I think it's because you only have so many stickers. And especially with these stickers, when they're a little big, like there's only so much you can write. If you're wanting to do one line. I was actually thinking of writing out 17 on that picture of my daughter, but it just wasn't working out. That was one of the things that I was trying to decide. If you kind of see me going back and forth, like that card that I just cut out, I'm wanting to tell the story of, her turning 17. And so I'm trying to decide if I want to add 17 right onto the card, if I want to add 17 onto that picture. That's why I pulled over those pink letter stickers. So the reason why I'm not using the white ones are because they didn't have letters. It was just, they didn't have numbers. It was just letters. So then I looked through my stash and I actually found these big numbers that came in a Studio Calico kit. I think it was from the fall of last year. So I've kind of been holding on to them. I was thinking of using them for December daily, but I had forgot about them. Like I didn't add them to my stash. So I was happy that I didn't remember, but that I found them. So I'm thinking of adding it to that photo. That photo that I took was backlit. And so it was pretty explosive, but I love the way it looked, and so I wanted to use it there. So that isn't the camera. It's not my video camera. It's actually the way I took that picture. So this is what I decided to do. So I pull over this stamp set, and I'm looking at the stamps because I want to do something similar, and this journaling is all about her birthday. And my thoughts are she's 17 and I can't believe she's 17. And so I was thinking that's kind of crazy awesome. When I was looking at, I was thinking it was awesome. And then when I looked at the other words, I was like, it's crazy awesome. And I didn't want to do awesome twice. So what I decided to do is, I stamped out "This is rad," and so I'm pulling out the awesome and I'm replacing with "This is rad." And I love that it has the word rad, because rad is something that I say all the time and something that my kids make fun of me for. So I think it must be really, what's the word? Generational, I guess, that my children, no one that they know says rad, but I do. And so it must be something that I grew up with that I have just kind of kept saying all along. And I never knew that I wasn't that cool. But anyway, so I loved the chance that I could use that word rad, because they'll always remember that that's something that I would say all the time. So now I am stapling the numbers onto the photo, and I definitely have to overlap them for two reasons. I didn't want it to cover her face, and then also they're quite large. So I'm moving them off to the side, but I do love that the one kind of is framing her face a little bit. So I love the way that worked out. So I went ahead and I stapled it, and as I was stapling it, it moved the 7 and it was totally crooked and it drove me crazy. And so I had to fix it. So I just took the staple out, and I wasn't really worried about being able to see the holes. And actually, you're not really able to see the holes. So I lucked out there, but I wasn't too concerned either way. So I just went ahead and stapled it on the top and the bottom, just because I kind of cut off the seam of the 7 there. And then I'm just going ahead and adding my journaling that was about my daughter turning 17. Like I said, it's kind of crazy awesome. I can't believe that I have a 17-year-old. So the next thing I decided to do, I was actually wondering if I should do the journaling on this card, because it's kind of pointing to that card that says "You make me really happy." And so I was thinking of doing some journaling about my kids there. But what I decided to do is just a list about what was going on in the week, like packing for Newport and loving the blossoms, things like that, little bits and pieces of the week that I wanted to remember. And then I just slip that in. So there's one more thing that I do before I am finished. I always step back and look at the layouts, and I decided that I wanted to move those photos, so that text message and then that photo, I wanted to just swap them. I think I wanted to kind of split up some of that hand writing. So that's what I decided to do. Anyway, you guys, this is the spread for this week. I hope you guys were able to get some inspiration from it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you guys always for your support. We will catch you in the next video. Bye.